Alison Duettman, President and CEO of the Foresight Institute, directs grants and initiatives in biotechnology, nanotechnology, neurotechnology, and AI. She founded existentialhope.com, advises companies like Lionheart, and co-edited Superintelligence, Coordination and Strategy, and co-authored Gaming the Future. Alison's talk is titled Tech Trees for Advancing Positive Futures, and she is joining online from the sunny San Francisco. Alison, the stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I really wish I could be there in person, but no such luck this time. But I'm dying to come, hopefully next time. It's definitely, I think, a topic that is very close to our heart at Foresight. Even though we don't have a specific technical track on it, it comes up at almost, many of our events, many of our grant rounds, fellowship rounds, just because it's like the innovation ecosystem is like the underlying layer on which many of the technologies that we focus on grows in. And I salute you guys for doing the work that you're doing. Very sad to miss it, but I'm here virtually at least. So I'm excited for your questions as well. And I guess you can't interrupt me while I speak, but Fanny, if there's anything that people want to know while I'm speaking, I can't really see you guys, but if there's anything I should clarify, then just feel free to interrupt me. This can be relatively chill. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead here. So maybe to just start out with, what am I doing here and why am I speaking at this event? I am Alison Duettman, and Fanny already introduced me, but basically I found Foresight Institute, the organization that I now run, online when I was still doing my thesis on AI safety 10 years ago. And I was like pretty depressed about the long-term future and like our role within shaping it or our ability to shape it. And I was doing research for my thesis and I came across this organization, looks like this on the internet, that has been around since 1986, so before I was born, and has since very early days has had an internet presence and was just like really optimistic and positive about the long-term future without being too Pollyannish, and was really trying to like advance science and tech in positive directions, and has been doing so long before many of the technologies that we now like focus on or that are now like all the rage had really penetrated the mainstream. So there was this like really kind of like basin of folks that were like just really on the edge of things, and rather than being very negative about the future, they were quite optimistic. And so I got really excited and I cold emailed them and I was like, I really want to help you guys. And that was 10 years ago. And then I came over to the Bay Area and started out as an unpaid intern, and now since for about 5 years or something, I've been like more running it. But this is just, I think, to say that especially, on Youth Day, like I think it really warrants to write unsolicited cold emails if they're well drafted, and if people know that you actually have an interest in the stuff that they're working on, they will get back to you. But so it's basically, this talk is supposed to be a little bit like uplifting in terms of what are a few of the tech areas that, I would encourage more people to move into. What are some of the kind of coordination architectures in which we're trying to encourage more people to move into them? And what can you guys do to like shape the future, especially in science, tech, and deep tech? So that's roughly the outline of this. And I will do this in a tech tree style format. This will become a little bit clearer in a second, but we're going to be talking about how to crowdsource and crowdfund progress in a variety of different technical fields. And with crowdsource, how can you help contribute to and find areas that you want to take on? And also how can other folks, for example, like our organization, help support you, fund you in these efforts, because we need progress and we need it fast, and we need it in a directed manner. So here we go. Just for a little bit of context, Foresight Institute gives out grants, prizes, fellowships. We host technical workshops, in-person workshops, virtual seminars, and so forth. So like the whole kind of like shebangs of different innovation tools. And we have all of these mechanisms basically in place to advance progress in a few different fields. And so these are our kind of, main verticals, for lack of a better term. Just briefly, molecular machines is the kind of like technology track that we were founded on. And so this is the idea of molecular nanotechnology. Maybe some of you know the Feynman quote of "there's plenty of room at the bottom." So the idea here is, what could we build if externalities, if cost, if pollution wasn't an issue? And specifically, what could we build if we could build from the bottom up, really from the bottom up, with molecular and atomic precision? Many of you probably have used a 3D printer, and here the idea is, can we scale this down? Can we actually build from the bottom up by using very precise methods to move to basically manipulate molecules, to manipulate, possibly even move atoms, to build with high precision. And so that would lead to new materials. It would lead to advances in healthcare. It would lead to advances in space technology through new material generation. It would lead to possibly things like carbon sequestration, because you can really create, almost like carbon drawdown methods, and a variety of other kind of like platform technologies that have always been like 30 years away. So it's a little sci-fi, but people are making very rapid progress in this field. So very exciting stuff over here. If you don't really know what that field is about, I really encourage you to check it out. It's a little harder to understand than the others, but it's really worthwhile. Another area that we focus on is biotech, and especially biotech for health extension. And this is, since we were founded, people were really interested in kind of civilization longevity and individual longevity. And so we really try to support cutting edge frontier development of science and technology that advances our health span and our lifespan. This is work including aging clocks to actually like measure how fast we actually age. This includes work like biostasis, replacement approaches to longevity. So basically like things that are at the frontier in terms of healthcare, biotech development is in that track. We have a track on intelligent cooperation. So this basically means how can we design better systems in which humans and ultimately AI systems can cooperate better. And this involves a lot of computer security. It involves cryptography. It involves some AI and compute, but this is basically, okay, we already have humans as intelligent entities on this world that cooperate. How can we push this forward? And most of the fellows and the grants that we give in that space are in the computing area, I guess. We have the neurotech area, and that's mostly focused on how can we develop better tools, better mechanisms, better interventions, better drugs to some extent, to really expand what our brains are capable of. And so this can mean anything from fighting mental health issues and to all the way to really leveling up our cognitive architecture. And so most of our fellowships and so forth in that area are like given to neuroscientists and neurotechnologists that are working on brain-computer interfaces and so forth. And then we have the space track, and that's really focused on low-hanging fruits in space development. So like lowering the cost to launch, asteroid mining, space manufacturing and habitat design, all the way to like governance issues in space that people aren't really paying attention to yet. And so our fellows and prizes focus on that in that specific domain. And then last but not least, we have this existential hope cluster. And so that's the one that Fanny already mentioned. And this is the idea that like we don't just want to randomly accelerate these technologies into nowhere land. Ideally, we want to accelerate them into positive directions. And so the existential hope banner is like our effort to think hard and critically about risks and positive futures, and where we can nudge technologies into positive directions. So it's like our North Star, our guiding star for the different technical tracks. And if you're interested to learn more about that, there's a website, existentialhope.com, where we have world building, we have podcasts, we have resources on all of these technologies to onboard more people to these fields. So possibly interesting for you guys. But yeah, so this is like, these are like our technical areas. And as you can tell, they're like a mouthful. Like even takes me a long time to even just talk about them. Sorry about that, but it's important to get onboarded to them, I think. And so oftentimes when we have these workshops and seminars in these areas, I get so many emails from, I guess, without seeing you guys, people like you who just reach out and, hey, I really want to help move this one technological field forward, but how can I best plug in? I'm a researcher in this field, or I'm thinking of doing my PhD in this area, or I'm thinking of going to university in this area. I'm thinking of doing a company in this area. How can I plug in? And I'm not the best person to answer this question because I'm not technical in these fields. I'm like coordinating and herding the cats in these fields, but I can't tell you this. So we were like, how can we actually coordinate and funnel people better into many of these fields that are like so undervalued? And one approach of how one might be able to do that is like prediction markets. Prediction markets are like just a way of keeping track of the long-term development of different fields. This is one where people literally send, like they predicted on the long-term development of technological futures by sending checks to our offices in the 1999 gathering that we had. So before my time at Foresight. And so you can see that people are like predicting on the long-term development of technologies there. And that's nice to keep track of technological development, see if we're on track to, reach some of the sci-fi futures that some of us are dreaming of. But it's not really like action oriented. It's not really like I now know how that field is actually moving and can contribute. So we need a better API for funneling talent into areas where they can make progress in. We came up with this idea of, okay, can we do tech trees? I'm hoping that some of you have played the game Civ, this online game that was really much beloved and probably still is. I haven't played in a while, honestly, but it's this idea, like a tech tree is this idea that it's not just a prediction on the future, but you're actually building the future out. You're like looking at the goals of specific, like of the civilization that you have, and then you backcast from there different stages of technological development and how you can reach this. And so in the game Civ, you gradually building up your civilization and different capabilities of different technologies that are coming online. Then you can use this possibly as an investment thesis. So this is a post on what if like individual investors in the real world don't just have a VC, like a portfolio, but what if they actually had a tech tree? So you can share your tech tree with another investor or an angel or different funder, and you can kind of like collaborate on building out a tree of a specific area that you're interested in. And then finally, what if we applied this to civilization as whole? This is a tech tree that it's very hard to read here, but what you can read is it goes all the way from where we currently are to explore the cosmos and reshape the cosmos. And then the different QR codes that you see are like Bitcoin nodes where you can donate to so that other people can then do that work on the back end. People donate to this wallet and you crowd fund entire ecosystems. So these are non-operational, at least in the real world, as far as I know. But we got really excited about this concept. So we banded together with many of the people that, authored these posts on like better structures for matching talent with funding. And so we tried to create a tech tree infrastructure. There wasn't even one yet. So we first needed to create a tool for tech trees. I'm not really going to go into that very much, but we onboarded a lot of fellows, basically like fellows in our different technical domains. And we're like, okay, let's first try to build a tool to actually build a tech tree that is shareable, because there isn't one. And then let's also try to see if we can build a few of them. And so that was the result. It took us a year to build the tools with hackathon and to onboard people. Those are the different tech trees across different areas. And you can see that they're like very, like really unruly. Like they're not very easy to digest. This is the longevity one that we have. And it's all over the place. You can see the long-term goals here, and then like different technical fields that you have to make progress on. And it's just very unruly. This is like a field that is better filled out on the extracellular matrix. Anyway, like if you click on it, this kind of little window opens, but as you can tell, it's not really easily digestible. And it doesn't actually help people like you, if you don't know anything about longevity, to figure out what this longevity thing is all about and start contributing to different areas. It's not that easy. So after some time, luckily, Coordination Network, which is an organization that we've collaborated a lot with, they just built a better tool. So they built an AI-enabled tech tree tool. And so that's one of them that I want to show you now, because I thought it was super empowering and really fun to build and to use. And I'm hoping that you feel similarly. So this is a longevity, like a new tech tree now. So as you can tell, this is the old longevity tech tree. Looks terrible, as good as it can, but not very usable. And then a year later, we were able to create this very slick design tech tree. And it took us about 2 months to build rather than an entire year, because it has an AI feature. So it's an AI kind of that auto-populates the entire tree. It's ChatGPT-4, so you still have to check it. Absolutely not always correct. It still hallucinates. It's much easier to map a space. And so I really want you to think about which spaces would you map if it was much, much easier to do. If there's an area that you really want to contribute to, could you just map this out and see how different actors in that field could collaborate better, what are overlooked opportunities, and so forth. So this is one example of how to do this for the field of longevity. So you have the long-term goal of radical life extension, and then the green nodes are the long-term goals. So you have radical life extension, and that kind of like it fans out into different sub-goals. So you have remove aging damage, you have whole body replacement as a more sci-fi path, cybernetic body replacement as a more sci-fi path, regenerative repair pathways, and then you have reducing the rate of damage accumulation. And then each of the kind of long-term nodes here, and here you can see the full legend. Again, each of the different green long-term nodes has technology nodes. Those are the nodes in black. Basically, okay, what are the different technological capabilities that if we made progress on them, we would reach those long-term goals that contribute to the final goal of the field. And those are, for example, for removing aging damage, analytics, gene therapy, using the lymphatic system to clear the detritus and so forth. And then each of the different technological capability nodes have challenge nodes. So each of these is at a stage right now where we really want to advance them. And then each of them like have bottlenecks. And so the orange ones are like for new folks entering the space where they're like, I want to do a company that is doing and solving a new bottleneck in that area. They can just really look here and think about, okay, how would I possibly remove that bottleneck to unlock that next part of the tech tree? So I should say that this is tech tree is like designed by one of our tech tree researchers with the help of AI, research analysis, reading a bunch of white papers, interviewing a bunch of people. It's not perfect. Other people would have a very different tech tree, but it's one of many. And it's a good starting system. And the cool thing is that rather than just listing challenges, you can also double click on a node and it loads. It explains you that specific node. It explains you, like it links to a longevity wiki where if you want to learn more, this is an actually wiki written by people in that field. It links the main labs that are working on making progress in that space. So if you're new and a researcher interested in analytics, you have a good understanding already of some of the top labs that are working on this stuff. It links you to some of the companies, including the ones that are now defunct, so that if you want to, go into the private sector, you know where to go. And then if you're more interested in starting a company in that space and you're looking for funders, it links you to a bunch of funders. And so it's an easy way to figure out, okay, I want to make progress on this because, I'm excited about that topic. And here are a few at least relevant actors in that space. Now, if you are lazy, like I am, and you don't actually want to like sift through this entire forest, then you can also speak to the AI. So there's an AI chatbot in there. And for example, this is the path now for whole body preservation. And so let's say you just want the AI to explain to you the path of whole body replacement on the longevity tech tree, including how the other nodes contribute to the path. You can ask the chatbot and it will basically parse the entire tech tree. And then if you want, it can also parse the internet. You can select that here. And it basically explains to you the tech tree, that entire path. So rather than like having to go through it one by one, you can basically ask the tech tree questions and it will guide you through the space. Okay, so that's one of them. Sorry, that was a deep dive, but I think it's like interesting to note. And so I encourage you guys, if you're interested in longevity and are looking for ways to contribute, that's out there now. It's on our website. The idea here really is to create something like, I can't do really a show of hand here because I can't see you guys, but if you have read Diamond Age, it's really one of my favorite books. It's the subtitle of Diamond Age is A Young Lady's Illustrated Primer. And it's this idea of a girl growing up in this nanotechnology diamondoid future. And it has this like primer by the hand, which is this like AI interactive, not really a book. It's more like an assistant or like a companion that explains to her the world in the ways that she can understand it. And so the idea of these tech trees is really like making it easier for people to digest why a specific domain, whichever it is that really you're working on, is important and how they can lean in and making progress. So that's the goal. But ideally, we don't just want to help people like you, find ways to contribute, but we also really want to support you guys. And so the first thing is that ideally you build out more than one tech tree. We are currently building one on secure AI, and we're building another one on brain computer interfaces because those are areas that we care about. And so the idea is that over the long run, you have something like a forest. So this is what I call the Foresight Forest, where basically you link different areas that we specifically are interested in together with their possible effects on each other and positive future. So basically for us, the kind of like secure AI space comes really first, because if we mess that up, we have an AGI ruined future. But if that field goes well, it also positively impacts our longevity biotech track, our neurotech track, our molecular nanotech track, and our space tech track. And then for each of them, again, we have different failure nodes of, okay, longevity biotech, we really need to make sure that we tackle bio risk, and neurotech, make sure that we tackle suffering risk. Nanotech, Grey Goo, space tech, Grabby Alien War, which is like basically like an extraterrestrial civilization that like expands to us at the speed of light. It's a new book by Robin Hanson. It's not sci-fi, actually. It's just a one calculation of like when we might meet extraterrestrials, if they are out there. So anyway, so those are like the risk nodes. And then you have like positive nodes in each of the different tech trees. And then here I list a bunch of very positive sci-fi depictions of what these worlds are like. So longevity, escape velocity has the favor of the dragon tyrant. And so basically to onboard people a little bit more of what does that field look like if it goes well, you have these long-term, more sci-fi sounding nodes. And I know that this is all a mouthful to understand right now. I'm not asking you to like parse every node of this tree, but all I'm asking you, I think, to do is it sometimes helps to zoom in and out to different levels of granularity. So For example, let me see if I can show it to you. So this is the tech tree, the kind of like larger tech tree as we have it. And the longevity biotech tech tree that I just showed you is still here. So if I click on that node, it actually opens up the tech tree that I just showed you. And so it's good for you guys to know if you are trying to influence and impact the world of what is the granular look of the space that I'm in, and then what is a more like zoomed out look of the space that I'm in. What are other possible areas where that specific field that I'm in is relevant for? What are positive, long-term goals of this, and also what are possible risks in it? For example, if we were very accurate, we would also say that our molecular nanotechnology track very much affects our life extension track, because many of the tools, if we were able to do actually precision medicine, that would be fantastic. If molecular nanotechnology came around, we actually have like precision medicine and precision mechanisms to take care of the human body, that would big time influence life extension. And the same for, I don't know, cryonics. If we had things like biostasis, that would be amazing for space travel, because you can actually like store humans and have them hibernate as you go out into space. This all sounds quite sci-fi, but I'm just trying to bring back the main point of it's good to have a zoomed in and zoomed out outward view of what it is that you're hoping to achieve. Because oftentimes some of the technologies that are developed in this track, let's say nanotechnology, have really positive impact on the stuff that you want to do in life extension over here. But if you don't track the tool development that's happening here, you might not know. And so it's good to know what's happening in other fields. And so this is, at least fast, an easy API where we can jump back into different fields, see what's on the horizon there, and pause that with the work that other people are doing. Last but not least, I want to tell you that it's not just important to map this stuff out, but we also really want to support folks like you in making progress on this stuff. Yes, it's good to have a map of these areas on a fine-grained level. Hopefully that helps some of you to easier find some of the science and tech areas that you guys want to contribute to. But finding them is just like one problem. The other one is actually being incentivized to contribute to them. And so the next kind of like bit is like that we are really working on funding avenues to actually fund people in these fields. So I think the probably the most important one, even though it's a little bit like possibly less exciting. But what we've started doing is map different funders to the trees. And so the idea is that you eventually will be able to look at a tech tree and see not just a few VCs there, but also entire fellowships that help support people that are interested in a specific area. And so in terms of a few examples, the longevity biotech tree that I've showed you at length, there's already a fellowship, the longevity biotech fellowship, that we're collaborating with very closely, and they are supporting people that are working on all of the different long-term nodes. And so they're really like accurately supporting people in that space. And so we're trying to really pair funders to these trees so that those that are interested in help make progress on the long-term goals have easy, accessible funding sources. We give fellowships in security and cryptography and brain-computer interfaces. And so we're really trying to make sure that the fellowships get mapped more and more onto the tech tree so that people that are interested in making progress on a node find an easy funder, if that's with us or with someone else. Another really great opportunity, I think, to support, more like young talent entering a space is prizes. So prizes are amazing if you want to get something done, if you want to solve a bottleneck like the orange nodes that you saw, but you don't really know how. And so you want to encourage experimentation in that field. And we have, for example, collaborated with a bunch of other organizations to start the longevity prize. And in one of our previous prize rounds, we gave 20K to a one-pager. Like all you had to send in is a one-pager, and a good one, like the winning one, that basically tells us what a new hypothesis is to move the field of longevity forward. And that got 20K. So it's a lot of money, especially but so we're trying to find new bottlenecks and new incentive mechanisms for these trees. We have a Norman Hardy prize that's about 10K per year. That's for computer security, like another critical node. And we're launching a $1 million prize for whole brain emulation to make progress on the newer tech tree. And so those are like still upcoming, but the idea is that we really want to support folks that are making progress in these areas. Last but not least, grants. Grants are really exciting. Grants are, I think, we should just be doing a lot more grants. Like anyone who has the abilities to just please start funding people. Grants have been absolutely a game changer. Since we've been giving grants, we've seen so much more progress in that space. and it's super easy to do. There's the impetus grants that are not from us, but it's a great funding source that gives a lot of grants in the areas that the longevity tree is covering. We have a 1.5 million AI safety grant that's covering a lot of the areas of that tree. And we're currently building out a 20 million fast grants round for our whole brain emulation tree that is going to be launched later this year. And so the idea of these trees is that you can easily pool funders as well. So usually the way that we fundraise now for others to help us fund these grants is we show them the tree and we're like, hey, we want to get to here. We want to fund people that are making progress on these different capabilities. Please help us support these nodes. And if you can see the kind of like a path to progress, it's a little bit more exciting for you to actually fund work on that area rather than it's just, grants that like roughly do this space. It's good to have the tech tree there and to show people what you want to do. Cool. Okay, that's pretty much it. Main takeaway is that if you guys are working in any of these areas or want to work in any of these areas, there's a ton of funding sources out there. And we're still scrambling to map them all to the different trees, but they're out there. And if there's any funders in the room, even though I can't see you, please help us fund this stuff. There's a lot of people that are really excited about working on this. We're totally oversubscribed for fellowships. We just closed our fellowship and we had, I think, almost 500 applications, really without much advertisement. Our grants are always eternally oversubscribed. It's not a lot of money. People can do a lot with very little money. And please consider supporting people. It's really very cheap. It's very cost effective. And yeah, that is pretty much it. If you want to build more with the tool that I just showed you, like with this AI chatbot tech tree, there is this network. That's the tool that we've been using for this. They're fantastic. If you are a young talent and want to build more trees, so for example, maybe you have an area that you want to build a tree in, then let me know. If you're a funder and you want to fund any of these challenges through grants, prizes, please also let me know. This is my contact information. And, I really want to encourage you guys. Oh, actually, if you want to join the community that I just showed you, Foresight Institute always has these annual vision weekends where we bring together people across different science and technology spaces to celebrate technological progress across different domains. And so if you're interested, and that's actually where Fanny first talked to me about this talk. She came to our Vision Weekend Europe, which was 2-3 weeks ago, in a castle in Germany. And our next one is in the Bay Area. And the next one will be in Puerto Rico in February. But those are like our big events where we bring together people across different technical tracks. But then we have a bunch of technical workshops. We have one coming up on nanotechnology and space this quarter. We have a bunch of prizes, fellowships. They're all on the website. If you're interested, feel free to join us. But I really want to leave you with this like prompt of, I've shown you a few tech trees and a few kind of like considerations of like why I think they're important, why I think they're very empowering. I've learned so much doing them for a field. Like you can just literally, I wish we could do this more interactively because you can just spin one up. If you shout out a topic, I can probably spin you up a tech tree in the remaining Q&A time for your field that you want to make progress on because it's AI automated. So it's really empowering to see just the path ahead. And obviously you always have to check it. But nevertheless, it's very empowering to see your path forward. So I want to encourage you to think about which tech trees would you like to grow? And I want to leave you with 2 quotes. First one is, this is from Petrarch, and Petrarch lived in 1343 CE. And Petrarch was like looking to us as being of the future. And he was one of the first futurists. And he said, "My fate is to live among varied and confusing storms," back in the days. "But for you, perhaps, if as I hope and wish you will live long after me, there will follow a better age." And so he's clearly talking to us. Like we're now in a position where we're like standing on the shoulders of giants and we should make the most of it. But then likewise, you can also look ahead into the future through these tech trees and through various other methods and think about the amazing worlds that we can still build. So here's one quote, and this is from the letter from Utopia from Bostrom, and it's imagining future creatures, like these guys, writing back to us to convince us to bring them into existence fast. And it's writing, "We love life here every instant. Every second is so good that it will blow your mind had its amperage not been previously increased. My contemporaries and I bear witness, and we're requesting your aid. Please help us come into existence. Please join us. Whether this tremendous possibility becomes a reality depends on your actions." So we're in this gap right now, and I want to encourage you really to think about what are the paths to progress that you see in your domain, and how can we advance these paths? And, you definitely have a wonderful community there. If you think that we can help, I can help in any way, please let me know. But I think, start thinking a little bit more gently about the long-term future, start finding each other, mapping out the path to that. And, I'm very happy to help in whatever shape and form I can. I guess that's all from my end, and happy to take any questions.
Can you hear me, Alison?
Yep.
Cool. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'm really sorry, but you will be able either to hear me or someone with a microphone. And while everybody else is preparing to ask questions from Alison, I would like to ask you to first let us know how, if at all, does this talk relate to the future of smart cities and new government structures?
Yeah, I love that question. And I am well aware that I'm a little bit outside of the standard, probably like discussion set of the topics that you guys are exploring. But, I think that I guess as I began to talk a little bit with like all of these different science and tech areas, whenever we dive deep into some of these technical hurdles that are holding back longevity, for example, the first thing that people tell us is, yeah, but we could do this much faster if we had the right regulation, we had the right relationship with policymakers, we had the right policies, we had the right institutions to make progress on this, we had the right infrastructure in place to really help roll this out for people, right? For example, if you think about longevity, if we had a better designed FDA, if we had a better designed NIH and NIA, like in the US, that would actually like put money into more preventative measures. But then also, if we had, for example, smart cities in which it's much easier possibly to really like take care of your health. You can have a lot more like decentralized, contact tracing that's privacy preserving for various, pandemics or other risks that are going around. You could have various kind of decentralized health stations. You could have a much more walkable and health-friendly city. And all of these are just things that are like so beyond the scope of what people even currently consider possible in these technical fields that I really encourage you guys to reach out to many people in these science and technical fields and are like, what type of infrastructure do you think would help that specific scientific field go faster? Is there anything in terms of like new governance experiments that would help you advance that field? But then also B, if you had another lever at your hand rather than just scientific progress, then how would you guys design smart cities to help this specific technological area forward? Because I think they just don't really think about it all that much. And I think it is the underlying platform technology on which all these technologies are built. None of these technologies are built in a vacuum. They're all built in the existing governance systems. They're all built with existing spatial constraints in mind, with existing collaboration constraints in mind, with existing policy constraints in mind. And these people don't think outside of the box because they're in their different individual technical weeds. So I really encourage you guys, if you're interested in, better design of better governance structures, smart cities, whether it's, I guess, like more of a abstract policy freedom that you're trying to create here, or whether it's, really like like a physical environment that allows more choices, please speak to people in different science and technical fields, because I think they would have a lot of useful things to contribute, and you might give them more newer ideas as well. So I think it should be like a much more interrelated process, because taking just one example, like in longevity biotech, there's Prosper, which is like a charter city in Honduras, like some of the kind of like biotechnology development of like Mini Circle and like other more gene-oriented companies that has been moving there. And, that's good to some extent, but we can also think a lot broader than that and a lot more like ambitious than that. And so really allowing people to think more outside of the box, because now everyone in longevity is talking about Prosper and about how we need more jurisdictional arbitrage and and just like better innovation environments, but make other scientific fields see that they depend on on better city design, better infrastructure design to accelerate the work that they do.
Alison, please let us know which tech tree you are most excited about.
I think that there is, I guess, the AI tech tree, mostly because it influences all other development. I don't know to what extent AI, the buzzword, has played into you guys's, but it also brings like severe risks. But I think that, there's a few specific, I think, just unlocks that better AI could be doing. And this is like in terms of personal productivity, it's in terms of allowing other, basically just like a lot more personalized approaches to healthcare and basically like data collation, hopefully in a privacy-preserving way. And so to me, the specific like AI, I guess like technology strand is the one that at least has the most multiplying factors on the other technologies that we discover. And so I'm assuming that it will have for the work that you guys are all engaged in. It's definitely the kind of make or break factor to some extent, even though there's a lot of physical opportunities as well in a more perhaps material science, nanotechnology development area as well. But like better, smarter materials, that would be fantastic. Yeah, so I think that's definitely like a big platform technology that won't go away anytime soon, but that is also like rapidly changing and influencing our different areas in different ways.
AI is definitely part of the smart city thinking, because tomorrow we will have an AI and ML track, just saying for the audience if someone wants to join that. We are also talking about how AI will not substitute people, but help people in their practices. So we are yesterday or Tuesday evening during the welcome drinks, the speakers talked about how will assist engineers and not replace engineers in their practices. Alison, do you have any addition, or do you fear that AI will replace people in their professions?
There are definitely very mixed results. It also depends on the timeline and which professions and so forth. But if I just look at it, if we just talk about like the AI tech tree tool, that I just showed you, yes, it definitely cut the hours of work of the tech tree leads that were previously going around and individually interviewing people and, making these excruciating diagrams and trying to wield the different technical tools. So by having just an AI tool where you just literally like an auto-populated tree and then you start filling it in, yes, it cut their hours, but it also cut the hours that they were really not interested in. Like it cut all the like really annoying tasks out of their life. And so they could focus on the like more knowledge-based work and the fun part where they actually can really excel. And that seems great to me because we can move much faster. We can build out many more applications now in a space where previously we would have done much less. And, they are still at the forefront of this and they're actively, using these tools. So that's been really good. I think especially in the science and tech area, there's tools like Perplexity, Elicit, Brain GPT. Like these are like basically like specifically science and tech oriented chatbots. And they are definitely helping people big time in doing a lot of the work that people didn't enjoy before. And so I do think that, yes, over time, some of the jobs will get eaten, but then it will free up more time for people to do the stuff that is the actual value bringing stuff that they would otherwise not have enough time to. And by doing that faster, we will accelerate progress much faster because you can actually focus on the stuff where you can have a unique perspective and where you have a unique bit to contribute. So hopefully, at least so far as I've seen it, not all too much replacement, but definitely a lot of useful collaborations and automation of tasks that were not deemed desirable in the first place.
Then I will ask Brett to please come here. Brett will ask a question, Alison.
One of the themes of today is around young people being the builders of the future, not the victims of it. Obviously, you're an incredibly enthusiastic, energetic young person, excited about the future that comes through, even on the video. How do you think that young people can achieve that, be the builders of it? How would you suggest? We've got a number of people in the audience that are from local government that are working with young people, wanting to engage them in building the future. What tools and strategies do you think exist that help, achieve that engagement and that sense of hope?
Yeah, I guess it's a two-part answer. First of all, thanks for the question. I'm not a young person. Anyway, I'm not sure.
Come on, Alison.
Thank you. No, but I definitely feel like 16 at heart, so I guess I'm young. But yeah, I think to some extent it's also something of mostly, for me, for example, I think I was always excited about the future, but then it was suppressed in Germany where I was. And then it really exploded out of me the moment I hit San Francisco, and my life turned from black and white into color. And so I think it's a lot about the community that you have, because many of the issue areas that I was interested in, like longevity, civilization, longevity, AI, various technologies, they were just like weird where I was. And so it took me a long time to find my community and to not think of myself as as like crazy. So I think, first of all, not discouraging young folks from asking questions and exploring the interests that they naturally have. So like basically like just not killing whatever interest people have in a specific field, that would already go a long way. And then for me, it was a physical community in San Francisco, but like before that, I found it on the internet. So it's not necessarily that everyone has to move to a place where, they can interact with these people in person. I think a great spot is the internet. And so one thing that I, for example, did to really make it easier for people, especially in the areas that I cared about, to find positive paths is I created this website, existentialhope.com, which is now run by Foresight. And so it basically has different world builds. And so we run these world building contests where we get people that work across different science and technologies to create new future worlds. So here you have Cities of Aurora. I think that you guys would get a kick out of this one. It's very city oriented. And they build different future worlds. And so we have these like week-long virtual programs by which people build these future cities, ecosystems, and worlds. And that's really exciting, because it's not just like you learn stuff in a normal course, but like you learn a little bit about specific technologies that are coming on the horizon, and then you implement that into a new world. And I think many people that were even perhaps a little bit more negative about the future before, I think definitely had some agency now on like actually designing a new future. We have a podcast as well. So if people are just interested in learning about like more novel ideas in that space and how people think very positively about the future, that's that. And then if you're interested in like diving into resources, I have this long reading list about the specific science and tech areas that I find interesting. And then if you click on any of them, you have intro resources, you have things about risks, about hope. So I'm basically just like trying to create these like resource links for people that want to take action to learn more about the fields, and like basically readings that have helped me have some hope and agency. That's how I found Foresight, honestly, like on the internet. I just like, looked for it. And so I'm just trying to make that looking easier by collating a lot of that information, easier digestible according to specific topics on the internet. So yeah, I think that inspires hope, just like finding good online communities that you want to contribute to. And there's a ton of them out there. Like many of the communities that I loved, like Slate's Codex or something, which is like a weird out there blog, they had meetups, and those meetups travel the world. They come to you at some point. You can also just host one. And then I think the other thing that I want to say is funding. Our grants that we give are between 10K, and I think the largest one was like 350K. But there are other grants out there. For example, the Medici grants from 1517, which is like a VC that support people between 14 and 21. And so they give $1,000 for people with an idea. So you just send in an idea, and if it's good enough, you get $1,000. And the kind of projects and companies that have grown out of that are also crazy. And so I think really just giving people, especially when they're young, a little bit of mentorship and a small amount of money that can really move the needle big time. Like I remember $1,000 that was a lot of money for me when I was younger, and it still is. But I could have really done stuff with that. Like that gives people enough to at least not have an excuse to not do something anymore. So it really helps. Like small sums help a lot. And we, our fellowship usually started over the age of 21. And then we suddenly got all these applications from people that were like 13, 14, and 16. And we didn't know that because we have a blinded review in our fellowship process. And so there we were, had accepted a bunch of teenagers. And so we're like, oh, damn, we need to open up a new fellowship category. And so now we have a third, maybe a little bit more of our fellowship applications each year are from teenagers. And they have founded companies through their parents and whatnot. And they need a special type of support. Like they often have to bring their parents to events when we fly them out here. They need a special type of mentorship, but like basically trying, like it helps. It needs so little to support people at that early stage because they start out with nothing. My school system was like, it was okay, but it was not very supportive of what I wanted to do. So anything that you do, they will latch onto it and they're extra excited about it. So I think getting people into the areas that you want to support them in early is a lot better bang for the buck, because once they're like in their PhD already and I work on smart cities from an academic lens or something, at that point, they're already jaded. They have their research budgets. They're in a specific path. So the earlier you can get folks out of there, I think the better.
Next, we have a question from April.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, I'm feeling old now when you mentioned that you were 32.
I don't know how old you guys think I am.
Almost twice your
I'm not
age.
a-
Anyway, but I'm really glad
I'm
that
not-
you mentioned youth. I did some research recently and I found a child of aged 8 in Australia that invented a dispenser for plasters, which is incredible. And I went back and I found some old Shark Tank episodes. There are teenagers out there, there are small children that are innovating, which is absolutely incredible. But I want to take you back to when you were 16. What inspired you?
I was much younger. Since I can remember, I didn't want to die. I remember my first thought was, I think the first really memory that I can thoroughly remember is that since I can remember, I didn't want to go to bed at night because to me, going to sleep was a small way of dying every night. And I thought life was amazing. I really loved my family. I loved new experiences. I loved learning new stuff. I loved, like all the people that you hold dear around you. Yeah, I think life is its best. It's amazing. And I think since I can remember, I couldn't stand the idea that it eventually has to end, that, my parents and my sister, who I love so much, have to become old and wither away, get sick. And that was really difficult, I think, for me to swallow because I just didn't understand why that has to happen. And then, of course, that over time, when you go to school, people are just like, later on, you will just like not care that much about it anymore. And then, but it never really stopped, I think, for me. But it changed into more of a feeling of wanting civilization to continue to live for a while, because when I was that young, I didn't even know that civilization itself might not continue. I just thought that, history was since forever and the future will just be happening and great. And I didn't really know about, climate change, AI apocalypse, nuclear war. Like I just, at that age, you don't really think about it. And so I think once I realized that there's actually risks that threaten life itself, like the continuation of anyone and the project that we have going on as human civilization, that's what got me very radicalized. And so then I focused on AI safety 10 years ago, which was a very weird topic at the time in my thesis and my studies. And, now my own personal longevity interest is secondary to my interest of civilization not to die, even though it's dependent on it, because you can't live if there's no civilization. But so I got into it through personal longevity. Now I still care about personal longevity, but really I just want civilization to have a great future. And that would be already good.
Thank you so much, Alison. As a last question, what are the next steps for the young individual to engage with the future?
I hope that I would really think about these questions that I had at the end. Is there something where whenever you think about that topic or whenever you hear someone discuss it, you want to go closer and you want to learn more? Or whenever you hear a podcast about it, you're like, ooh, okay, let's get into it. If there is a topic like that, no matter how far and outlandish that is, like you have to pursue that. Like at the time in Hamburg, when I was into longevity, I was like, there's nothing I can do. I'm in Hamburg, in a suburb. No one cares about this stuff. But I think there will be an opportunity later in life, if you make it so, where you will have a chance at that. And I'm not saying that I'm contributing big time to longevity now. This is not supposed to be a self-grandizing statement here, but I'm more saying that, life is long, hopefully, and there will be opportunities where if you focus in early and if you stay persistent and if you don't forget about the dream, that people like that are needed and they will be picked out if you are really persistent. I just literally, got here on a cold email, unpaid internship, and I hung out with my dear life. And I'm not saying that everyone should go to the Bay Area, but I do think that if you have a topic that you're interested in and you know a little bit like about how you would want to contribute to that space, then write that cold email. Make it concise, use Claude or ChatGPT to like bring it to the point, but offer your help. Like we have the best people that are now working at us through cold emails. And so I think it's just ask more, put yourself out there more in a helpful way. And I think people will pick up on that. Everyone wants someone that deeply idiosyncratically cares about the thing that they care, and it really shows. So I think that cannot be overstated. just start somewhere, and you will eventually get paid, and you will eventually like move up. And I know that it's very difficult. I really struggled here when I first came here. I still live in community house, but at the beginning it was like in a 6-person bunk bedroom for years actually. And so it's not super easy, but it eventually I think checks out, like, because I only know from the other side, we're looking for people that actually are hungry for specific fields, and there aren't a ton out there. Like there are many, but it really shows when people are hungry for that. People don't get that many emails, and it really shows if someone's incredibly excited about something that they're excited about. Yeah, I just wouldn't be shy. Don't be shy, basically.
Thank you, Alison. Where can we find the tech trees? Is it available through the Foresight website?
Yeah, the one on longevity and the one on intelligent cooperation are on our website, and that's where all the other programs are as well. And the others are still growing in the back end, but they will be available soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alison, for your time.